Hey guys, welcome back to the Better Not Bitter podcast with yours truly, Maya Warren. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the next part of transitioning to college from high school with a disability, and that is how you address and begin the process of building relationships with your professors so that you guys can be a team and so that you can be successful in your college endeavors. Without further ado, let's get into it. So first things first, I'm going to pull up a document that I have. It's kind of like a template or a breakdown. And for all my strictly auditory podcast listeners, I'm going to put it in the show notes. And for you guys on YouTube, it'll be on the screen. And so I'm going to show you guys that. I'm going to zoom it in if need be. Alrighty. So here is the example email, what it looks like at a glance. Now I'm going to kind of zoom it in so we can look at it. So this will be done obviously in whatever platform you use, whether that is Yahoo, Gmail. I'm not aware of anything else. Oh, I know Microsoft Outlook. And here's how it's structured. So you have the greeting. It starts out with, "Dear Professor," and this will depend on if your instructor is a graduate student, a PhD level professor, or a teacher's assistant. It will determine what you will address them as. And this is important and something to take note of because you want to be respectful and be mindful of that person's title, especially if it is someone who has a PhD. Without a doubt, always address them as Dr. So-and-so until they tell you otherwise, or unless they tell you otherwise. I actually had a friend who doesn't have any disabilities, but she did not address a particular faculty member properly in her email, and that led to not such a good response. So you always want to make sure that you're respectful in your address of whomever you're writing this email to. And you can keep the same format for each instructor. So say if you have 5 or 6 courses, for each of those emails, you can format it the same. Just make sure you change the instructor name, the course title, and section, and that's pretty much it. So next you have the actual body of the email, which is fairly short depending on a few things. So it says, "I hope this email finds you well." You can begin your email like this or however you choose, like, "Oh, I hope this message finds you well," or "Hi, I hope you're having a great day." Something to let them know that you're not just going to cut to the point and not be authentic. You want to make sure that you're authentic because you're trying to build a relationship with this instructor. Next sentence. "My name is," obviously here you'll put your first and your last name, followed by the actual course and the section of that course. You want to state somewhere in the email the specific course as well as the section, because most classes have multiple sections. And the more specific you can be, the better, because when you walk into class or when you appear in the Zoom or WebEx, whatever platform they're using for virtual learning, they're more likely to remember, hey, this student is in this particular section. Let me look out for them and whatnot. "I hope this message finds you well. My name is," and I am in the second section of your B&B 101 course. I just threw that in there as an example, but it can even be, "I am in the second or third section of your Chem 101 course," or whatever course it is. Then you want to make sure it is followed by the mention of the fact that you are registered with disability services, whatever title they call that office. This is important because it lets your instructor know that, hey, you have a disability, without you having to say, oh, I have a disability. You can, but letting them know that you're registered will also let them know that in the coming weeks, they can expect an accommodations letter from you, either a physical copy if you're an in-person setting, or a virtual copy, which is a PDF sent by your disability office directly. Next, usually in between this black section and this burgundy section, before I even mentioned that I look forward to being in this course, I'm the kind of person who chooses to self-disclose my disability. Here is why. I believe that my disability is not something to be ashamed of. And I also believe that as authentic as you can be without giving too much detail or uncomfortable details is important in them understanding your situation outside of just looking at a list of accommodations. Sometimes it helps to have that background information when you want to schedule an appointment with them, because they can understand, okay, well, these accommodations say this, but they may have other ideas for how they can accommodate you that might even be better than what your disability offices have specified in your letter. So the next section, at your convenience, I would like to schedule an appointment to meet with you and introduce myself and answer any questions you may have regarding my accommodations letter. Here, it's pretty much up to you how you want to phrase it. You can say, I'd like to meet with you, introduce myself, and also let them know that they'll be receiving an accommodations letter if you think that is an added bonus. But this is important, and it lets them know that you genuinely want to be upfront about making your presence known in their course at the beginning of the semester. Because what you don't want to happen is you have a disability related emergency or something come up related to your disability, and they're all of a sudden surprised and all they know about you is the piece of paper that they have. So I think that's a very important step as well. When you schedule an appointment, always make sure that in those appointments, you are comfortable with the amount of information that you're self-disclosing. So I'm very comfortable in my meetings saying, hey, I have 2 primary disabilities. The first one is ocular cutaneous albinism related vision impairment and chronic migraine disease. And what I usually do is I describe and basically educate my professors on what albinism is. I've had some instances where some of my professors already knew what albinism was, but I still explained any rare information that they might not have known in hopes that it would help them understand the paradigm through which I am trying to learn in this class. When it comes to chronic migraine disease, I explain what that is as well as how it affects me in terms of symptomology and academic progress. So ultimately, it is up to you how deep you want to go, but I believe that some disclosure is needed so that it can help them put a name to face and understand, like, hey, this person needs this because of this. It's a no-brainer. Then you follow up that section with the salutation, which is thank you for your time and attention, or whatever you want to put here, long as it begins with thank you. And then you sign your name. One of the most important things that I have found in my experience as a student is that most professors are genuinely willing to accommodate, and some are even willing to be creative in the ways that they accommodate, meaning they have no issue with thinking of how to make certain aspects of the class that would normally be a challenge less challenging. For example, I had one professor where on my accommodations letter, it stated I would do separate testing in the disabilities office. Well, he went a step further and he was like, well, how about I let you take your quizzes and your exams in a separate classroom. And then when you're done, whenever you're finished, take your time, you come back to class. And that was helpful because in his course, the way the exams are structured, you would take the exam or the quiz, and then after that, he would show a movie or a video relating to other concepts. So the class wasn't over once the exam was done for this particular course. So instead of me having to walk all the way to disability services, take the test or the quiz and walk all the way back, he was like, well, I'm going to make it easier for you. We can just take it in a vacant classroom, low lighting, everything that you need is there, and bada bing, bada boom. And he would then go forth and fill in the bubble sheet because I can't do that because of my vision. So that's one of the things that was really helpful to me in my college experience, because it not only let me know that, one, this teacher cared about me making sure that I had that accommodation, but they were also considerate of the fact that they didn't want me to lose some of the more fun aspects of the class after the quiz or the exam. So it really depends on you as a person. I find that authenticity is the best route to go. What that means to you, you can decide. But the number one tip I have for people when sending emails is be authentic, be quick to the point. Don't write a lot of fluff, okay? Because people can smell fluff a mile away. And just because you want your email to look long, that's not an important reason to add in extra details that don't matter. So you decide how much you want to self-disclose. And if you self-disclose, be authentic. Be ready to ask as well as answer questions during your meeting or through email correspondence with your professor. So this could mean they're like, okay, well, I would like to know, if it's okay with you, how lighting particularly affects your vision, which is a question that I get a lot regarding vision impairment. And these questions can be specific to your disability, but they would ask, I would like to know, if you don't mind telling me, how lighting affects your vision so that I can adjust the lighting in the classroom. So to that question, I would respond with, when it comes to lighting, it impacts my vision in different ways. Too much lighting, especially those really bright white lights, causes me to get a headache due to the photophobia aspect of my vision impairment, which means that my eyes take in more light than the average person due to the lack of pigmentation in my retina. So that's one of the things that has helped me. You know, in those moments, I'm being authentic, quick to the point, and they're able to understand, okay, she may need the classroom to be dim, and I have no issue with that. And 9 times out of 10, that has been the case. The third point I would add is, when you're communicating with your professor, approach it as being a part of a team. Like I said in the last part of this series, it's a 3-fold team. You have you and whoever is your main person for support that helps advocate with you or alongside you. Then you have your disabilities office as well as your professor. So you want to make sure that you're communicating with them if you are struggling ahead of time. Don't wait till the last minute. I've made mistakes where I was like, I'm gonna I'm going to have my pride and I'm not going to tell them what's going on because I already explained my disability at the beginning of the year. We met and I feel like they should already know. No, don't do that. Don't be like me. Let them know ahead of time because it's a very frustrating thing to have to play catch up, especially when you have a disability, and it just adds to the stress. And for me, it adds to migraines, which is never a good thing. The fourth thing is have a plan for disability related emergencies or roadblocks. This is important, very important, because you understanding your needs and what your disability entails is empowering because you can already be prepared for these emergencies and roadblocks. For example, with chronic migraines, at the beginning of the year, I articulated that what tends to happen is my chronic migraines become more frequent and intense towards the end of the semester during spring semesters, particularly. By me letting them know that ahead of time, that's great. But when something actually happens and I have to miss an assignment or anything comes up, I'm able to say, hey, professor, instructor, doctor, so-and-so, I am having a difficulty completing this assignment, or I'm having a difficulty understanding this particular concept at length because I wasn't able to stay for the whole class due to a chronic migraine. Not only did you make them aware at the beginning of the year, but now you're reminding them and letting them know that, okay, that is why, and that's a justified reason. And a lot of the times they are so willing to help you, one, grasp the concept or give you extended time on that assignment for the sheer fact that you're letting them know that you've been working on it or that you genuinely want to learn this concept. The fifth thing is make sure that you're registered with Disability Services, please, because it will make your life so much easier. I say this from personal experience. I am registered with my disabilities office for my vision impairment specifically. But due to just the last 4 years being so hectic, I did not get registered for chronic migraines. Had I done that, I think it would have helped tremendously, especially in the area of extended time on assignments and things of that nature, because my professors would have had documented proof as well. Some professors are really, really sticklers for documentation, which is understandable because sometimes you have students that they base their prior experience on. It's kind of like what I said in the last video. I try not to, and I'm learning to not penalize one person and presume them to be ignorant or incapable of understanding just because 150 people prior to them did not. Professors kind of do the same thing. Some professors will base their answer or their perception of something or a situation based off of the 150 students that did or did not do something that negated negative repercussions. So it's very important that your bases are covered. And as I said in the last video, when you're communicating with your professors, it's also good to keep your support system as well as your disability services office in the loop, so that if you need extra backup or help, they are resourced and they're already clued into what's going on with the situation. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. I appreciate you guys so much. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Anchor and all the other streaming platforms, please give it a listen, share it with a friend, like it, all of those wonderful